Welcome to Vikingspiration Nutrition Part 2. Title: What is the optimal diet? Simple question, not so simple answer, but I'll give it a go. I think I have a lot to say on this. It's kind of the result of all my hard work and study. I've struggled a lot myself. I talked about this earlier. I've pretty much tried every diet around, or at least close to everything, for quite a while, including veganism, semi-carnivorism, a lot of fasting, high carb, low carb, high fat, low fat, high protein, low protein. I'll give you guys the details later on those. First of all, I want to start again with what I ended the last video with. What should be the goal of every diet of every human being? Number 1, maximize micronutrients. Number 2, minimize toxicity. They seem to make sense. Number 3, eat for satiety. And that one hopefully seems to make even more sense. If you're not happy with how you feel after you've eaten, if you don't feel satisfied, if you don't feel satiated, you're going to eat more. And if you're always going to eat more, or at least in the long run, on average, going to eat more, that means you're going to grow fat, because you're going to eat more calories than you need. So it's extremely important for a diet to calm you down in terms of appetite, to reduce your cravings, to satiate you, to make you happy with what you ate. And then you don't eat for a long time. So that seems to make a lot of sense. The other two are a bit more complicated, but we'll go to that now. Maximize micronutrients. We know a little bit about this because our mothers always told us, like, you got to eat your salad, you got to eat your lettuce because vitamins, and we need a lot of fruit because vitamins and minerals. Well, where are the most minerals? We don't even know exactly. I don't even know at this point. So maximize micronutrients and minimize toxicity. First, I want to start with explaining what exactly is the process of importance behind maximize micronutrients. What do micronutrients do for our body, for our system? For this to be clear, I'm gonna go to the definition of epigenetics, a field I love. It's quite new, less than 20 years. And I'll give you the definition. In biology, epigenetics is the study of heritable phenotype changes that do not involve alterations in DNA sequence. So, in my own words, there seems to be a way that our DNA, our genes, can behave like separate from how they are hardwired, the code, like the base pair code of DNA. So that's very interesting because how our genes behave is pretty much all we are. How we look, how we feel. I said this before, what diseases we grow and how happy and strong we are, what muscles we grow, etc., etc. So obviously this is super important. One of the ways in which our body can modulate this gene expression, basically the behavior of our genes, is by changing the expression of certain parts of our DNA. One of the most common ways to do this is DNA methylation. I'll give you guys a little bit of reading again. Nutritional epigenetics has emerged as a novel mechanism underlying gene-diet interactions, further elucidating the modulatory role of nutrition in aging and age-related disease development. Epigenetics is defined as a heritable modification to the DNA that regulates chromosome architecture and modulates gene expression without changes in the underlying sequence. Blah, blah, blah. I hardly understand it. I do know what they're talking about because I read more about it, but number one thing that's important is we can influence by how our genes behave, like a lot more than we've been made to believe. by changing the circumstances, like the environment that our genes are in. And this we can do, of course, with stress and sleep and stuff like that, like our body hormones, like cortisol is an extremely important one, of course, but also by changing our nutrition. And again, this is vastly underrated. I'll give you guys another quote. Nutrients can act as the source of epigenetic modifications and can regulate the placement of these modifications. Nutrients involved in one-carbon metabolism, namely folate, vitamin B12, vitamin B6, riboflavin, methionine, choline, and betaine. And there's a shitload more. But just to throw some difficult words at you guys, that's not the reason you should believe it. So basically, by eating healthy, whatever that is, instead of not healthy, we can influence if we grow strong or if we grow sick. A lot more than we think, a lot more than we know. I'll post some links below if you want to read more about it. Even on the simple Wikipedia, you can read a lot more. But this field of science is emerging for the last 10 years a lot. Who knows, I'll end up in that after I'm finished with poker. For now, it doesn't seem like, but I find it extremely interesting. We have a lot more power on our happiness and health than we have always believed. Anyway, with that out of the way, what are the main characteristics of diets we can choose? What are the main things we have to take in account? First of all, choose macros. And micronutrients are the vitamins and the minerals, etc. And macronutrients are whether you eat a lot of fat, carbs, carbohydrates, or protein. You could give a special category for alcohol. I won't go there. We all know that drinking a little alcohol is nice and drinking a lot of alcohol is unhealthy. That's for now all you need to know. What is much more interesting is the role of fats, of course. I talked about this earlier. Fats have been demonized for like the last 50, 60 years. Fats in general, because people made the connection, hey, we're fat because we eat too much fat. Okay, that was a big mistake. Carbohydrates are made to believe for the last 50 years like the opposite. We've been told that they are actually fine to eat and because low fat, and then you won't grow fat. You just eat some carbs because they're whatever. You know, it's hard to even describe for me now. Like safe or dry compared to fat. Like they keep you dry or they keep you whatever. Again, this was quite a big mistake. And protein is vastly underrated to have like in your diet for a high percentage, because mostly a process called dietary thermogenesis, and this is the process that determines how much energy you lose by digesting certain types of food. Protein requires 20-25% of energy to be actually converted into a source our body can use. So this is why you feel actually after a big Christmas dinner with a big turkey, you feel actually you're sweating because your body is actually generating a lot of heat from the inside out. This process is a little bit less or a lot less for carbs and then a lot less for fats. So fats, especially healthy fats, are a great food source, but they can give you a lot of energy. So if you overdo it, you will still grow fat. But this is a different type of growing fat than you can grow fat from an overload of processed carbs, again, because they dysregulate your hormonal system. That will actually make you eat more and actually make you store fat more easy. So those are macronutrients. It's very important. Everybody's different depending on how much you exercise. You want a bit more carbs or a bit less. But in general, I can say you don't want 50% carbs like the standard American diet kind of advises you to take. Especially because the food sources that those carbs come from are not necessarily great sources. Grains, for example, are a pretty bad source of energy in general because of their anti-nutrients. You can look up phytic acid. That is a lot in wheat that we mostly eat. And it blocks a lot of important minerals like iron, magnesium, calcium. So you can think that eating bread is healthy or innocent, but it not really is. It's not optimal. And we're much better off lowering, in general, the quantity of carbs we have in our diet. I would say down back to like 10-20%. And the carbs that you eat, let them be from a natural source, like fruit or rice or potatoes. It's all fine. I'm not a zero carb advocate. I'm just against the processed junk carbs. Protein, as I said, underrated. In general, people will do a lot better in life if they have more protein, especially from animal sources, because that is much more complete protein, which is much more easily absorbed by the body. So you can use it a lot better. And fats, a lot have been said on fats. We know by now what the unhealthy fats are. Like only 10-20 years ago, we stopped using trans fats, pretty much, not even, and it's still in there quite a bit. A very chemical, engineered, bad type of fat that actually is extremely toxic and extremely bad to have in whatever quantity. And now there is still the seed oils, and those, for who don't know it, I will post a link below again. I think are a lot less innocent than we've made to believe. Again, I'm not alone in this, but mainstream advice is still that seed oils, like cheap vegetable oils to be exact, are still fine. They're a plant source and healthy and heart healthy and whatever. And I think they're not. And there's a lot of material on that. I'll post a link below to a YouTube video from somebody who can explain it a lot better than I can. But seed oils are a very, very, very bad source of energy because they give you no nutrients. They don't support your genes to behave in a positive, strong way to make you happy and strong. No, they behave after seed oils. Your genes behave very badly and we actually grow sick. And we can see the mechanisms, but mainstream advice hasn't accepted it yet. Again, there's very good reasons for this, mostly money, of course. Okay guys, that's it for now again. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next episode where I'll go into the actual different diets.
I'ma blow up. Yeah.